The story begins with the female lead, Cynthia, suddenly appears in a classroom. She looks around to assess the situation, finding the room completely empty. She looks down and sees a book titled The Wolf and the Boy, but its pages are filled with chaotic scribbles, and every page has the word help written all over it. Suddenly, the school bell rings. Cynthia is struck by a powerful force and quickly steps out into the hallway to investigate. It seems like there's something hidden near the camera's viewpoint, but Cynthia remains calm and composed. Following the faint light, she walks forward and eventually enters a dimly lit room. In the center of the room sits a bald man, and in a cage beside him is a little boy. Realizing this is the place she's been searching for, Cynthia slowly crouches down. She tells the boy in the cage that everything he sees right now is fake. If he can bravely step out of the cage, all the surrounding evil will turn to ashes. But the boy is still scared. He believes he can't break free from his restraints. At that moment, the bald man slowly turns around. The glass of water in front of him suddenly shatters. Broken shards cut Cynthia, but she still doesn't give up trying to convince the boy. The bald man's expression becomes increasingly twisted, until he takes a threatening posture, ready to attack. But as Cynthia begins to chant softly, her body is suddenly pulled back into reality. It turns out Cynthia is a psychotherapist. She has the ability to enter the mental world of her patients through sheer will and find the root cause of their psychological illnesses. However, this treatment method comes with risks. If either person gets hurt in the mental world, that harm manifests in the real world too. Cynthia tells the patient that the root of the problem has been found. It all stems from childhood trauma. Later, her daughter Jordan comes to ask about what just happened. She wants to know what her mother saw. Cynthia says she saw the patient's gym teacher, a pervert who abused children. The patient was trapped in a mental cage by his childhood trauma. So, as long as he can walk out of it, he'll be free. As they're talking, the doorbell rings again. Jordan opens the door to find a little girl. The girl says she sneaked out without her father's knowledge. She claims to have a strange illness and wants Cynthia's help. Jordan quickly brings her inside and begins asking some basic questions. The girl says she's only 14 years old. After her mother died, she became haunted by an evil spirit. She heard Cynthia can drive away unclean things, so she came hoping for a miracle. Noticing the girl's arms are covered in scars, Jordan starts to doubt her story. Besides, this is the first time he's heard about ghosts and spirits. Is he here right now? The girl points to a corner where nothing is visible, but her expression is extremely serious. At that moment, Cynthia inside the house senses something's wrong. But when she steps out of the room to investigate, a shadowy figure suddenly appears, nearly scaring her unconscious. At the same moment, there was a loud knock at the door again. This time it was the girl's father, officially there to take her back. Jordan tried to step forward and ask questions, and the girl also cried out for help. But the man completely ignored them and forcibly took the girl away. At this moment, Cynthia was still in shock. She had clearly seen a demon just moments ago. A little later, Jordan explained everything to her mother. She said the man was referred by Agatha, and the girl's behavior didn't seem like she was lying. Cynthia told her daughter never to mention the matter again. If the girl was truly possessed by an evil spirit, then no one could help her. Jordan felt her mother was exaggerating. She believed that a doctor's duty was to help people. This disagreement led to a heated argument between the two. But Cynthia still didn't back down. That night, Cynthia came to have a heartfelt talk with her daughter. She tried once more to explain just how dangerous demons can be, but Jordan still couldn't understand. She said danger wasn't a reason to run away. Besides, how could you know it's dangerous if you've never tried? Cynthia told her that sometimes you just can't force things. Like how her father's death was one such example. The world believes in science, not spirits. One day, when you can see, I hope you'll have the sense to know when to help and when to protect yourself. This seemed to touch something soft inside Jordan. She fell silent and didn't argue anymore. Later that night, while lying in bed, Jordan had a dream. She dreamed she was back in her childhood, standing before a ladder that led to the attic. She slowly walked toward it and gently called out, "Dad." When she woke up, it felt all too familiar. She had dreamed of this scene many times before. The next morning, sunlight streamed gently through the windows. Jordan, dressed casually, stepped out of the house. Cynthia asked where she was going. Jordan replied she was going out with friends and might not return until evening. Cynthia wanted to ask more, but Jordan had already hurried off. In reality, Jordan was lying. She wasn't going to meet friends. She was headed to Agatha's house. After thinking all night, she had made up her mind to help the girl herself. Agatha was once Cynthia's patient, but later became a family friend. Jordan didn't waste any time. She came straight to the point, wanting to know more about the girl from yesterday. Agatha didn't hide anything. She explained that the girl's father was a carpenter. He had heard about Cynthia's methods while working on custom furniture, which was why he brought his daughter to seek help. With a clear answer, Jordan used the address to visit the girl's home. The place seemed eerily quiet. Just a single-story, simple house. Jordan knocked on the door, no response. So she circled to the back of the house. From a basement window, she spotted what looked like the same girl from yesterday. Gathering her courage, Jordan unlocked the backyard door. Inside was completely silent. With an unnerving atmosphere, she followed the direction of the basement and soon found a door, but it turned out to be a fake. Just a thin kitchen cabinet behind it. Jordan, being clever, didn't leave right away. She instinctively pushed the clothes aside and discovered a hidden door. She quickly grabbed a suitable tool from the room and pried open the lock on the secret door, just as she had guessed. Behind the door was the basement she saw earlier. Jordan carefully made her way in a search. Before long, she could sense the girl nearby, but before she could get a clear look, she was attacked from behind. At the same time, Cynthia grew suspicious. Her daughter had suddenly hung up, and she hadn't heard her last words clearly. Just then, Agatha also called, asking if Jordan had found the girl. Hearing this, Cynthia immediately realized that her daughter might be in danger. Meanwhile, Jordan woke up in a sealed room, her wrists tightly bound. Turning her head slowly, she saw a withered woman beside her, just as she felt completely lost. The girl's father entered the room. Jordan begged him to let her go, saying she had come only to help his daughter. But the man didn't care. He said no one could help. The only thing that mattered was finding food. Jordan tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen. Just then, the girl quietly entered the room. She said nothing, just walked up to Jordan and placed her hand on her. In an instant, Jordan felt her life force draining away. Clearly, the demon was feeding on her energy. A black tendril behind the girl slowly loosened, and a wound appeared on Jordan's arm. The girl, in a guilty tone, thanked Jordan. She had already become used to such scenes. Night fell. The man smashed Jordan's phone and told his daughter to help clean things up. They were going to sink Jordan's car into the lake to erase all evidence and return everything to normal. Jordan struggled desperately and finally managed to tear the tape slightly. Without hesitation, she untied the ropes around the other woman. She wanted to escape together, but just as she opened the door, the man was already standing there, blocking the way. With no way out, Jordan begged the man to let her go, promising that her mother could save the girl. As the standoff continued, the girl suddenly ran in and stood in front of Jordan, pleading with her father not to kill again. "People, you said, Riley Moe." Jordan stared in horror at what was unfolding. He urged the girl to hold on, but the girl slowly stopped breathing, and in that moment, Jordan felt a splitting headache. The next second, something entered her body. The demon had transferred into a new host. Upon the girl's death, Jordan, regaining consciousness, ran for her life, leaving the struggling woman behind. The man turned to his daughter, filled with guilt. But it was too late. Jordan, having escaped the house, soon saw her mother rushing to the scene. Thankfully, she was safe for now. Jordan would never act on her own again. The man also fled the scene in his car before the police arrived. The next day, Cynthia brought her daughter to the police station. But the truth of the story was too hard for the police to believe. They thought Jordan had suffered a severe trauma, causing her to hallucinate and ramble. Before they left, the police chief told Cynthia that a large pile of corpses had been discovered at the scene. The level of cruelty resembled hell itself. Though the suspect had fled the city, officers would be assigned to guard Cynthia and her family. Back home, Cynthia began to suspect that her daughter was not the same, so she decided to enter Jordan's mental world. Conveniently, Agatha was also present, so Cynthia instructed her to wake her up if needed, in case danger arose. With everything prepared, Cynthia slipped out of reality in just 1 second. She now stood on a dimly lit street, surrounded by eerie desolation. She moved slowly, observing the area, and accidentally saw her late husband. A newspaper headline read, "Male psychologist commits suicide. Couldn't save his patient." Cynthia expected to see such things, but this was no time to be sentimental. As she chanted softly, she was pulled into the old house, the place she feared most, and also where her daughter's childhood trauma began. This was the burden a healer must bear. Sometimes, only by letting go, can healing truly begin. At the doorway sat a little girl, a younger version of Jordan. Cynthia asked if she wanted to go in. The girl shook her head, so Cynthia went in alone. The place hadn't changed at all. When she saw the photo of the three of them shattered, she realized something else had taken residence in their home. But as she moves toward the stairs, she senses the presence of the entity, which unnerves her, and suddenly, the entity attacks, causing her arm to burn. Agatha tries to wake her up and slaps her to bring her back. Cynthia tells her that a shake would have sufficed, to which Agatha apologizes, saying she panicked. Later, Cynthia thanks Agatha for being there. The demon was now inside her daughter. After launching an investigation, Cynthia soon arrived at a hospital, the one where the little girl's mother had passed away. Upon inquiry, it was confirmed that the mother had indeed died there. But shortly afterward, her attending physician chose to retire. Acting quickly, Cynthia followed the address and located the doctor's home. She claimed that she had a patient with similar symptoms and asked how the doctor had handled it. Seeing that Cynthia didn't seem to be lying, the doctor slowly began recounting the events. In over 40 years, none of the experienced doctors had seen such a condition. It was as if something had been devouring the patient from within. All her organs were gradually shutting down. No one could diagnose what kind of illness it was. Even the world's most advanced instruments couldn't detect anything. She reached out her hand and said, "Don't be scared. It's worse if you're afraid. I can feel it pulling. Every part of my body being sucked toward it. It's her." The doctor said it was completely beyond comprehension. So everyone unanimously concluded that it must be supernatural. As he spoke, he showed Cynthia the scars on his body. Clear proof that anyone touched by the demon leaves with a mark. He added that, in her final days, his own daughter stayed by the patient's side until she passed. Cynthia, overwhelmed by the story, was warned by the doctor to stay far away. There was no other solution. Back home, Cynthia began poring through ancient and modern texts, trying to find how others may have defeated such evil. Eventually, she found a record that stated, to rid oneself completely of a demon's attachment, there are only two options. Either pass it on to someone else, or enter its spiritual world and destroy its core. Reading this, Cynthia grew solemn. She knew her own powers were limited, and either option would be nearly impossible. That night, Jordan had the same recurring dream again, but this time the dream changed. Dozens of sinister vines extended from the attic, as if trying to swallow the entire dreamscape. Drawn toward the noise, Jordan heard whispers echoing from within the attic. As he approached, Agatha suddenly woke up, sensing something was wrong. Jordan quietly went downstairs to investigate. He felt like something was watching him from behind. Then, a terrifying sight unfolded before him. When Cynthia arrived, she found Agatha unconscious and realized her daughter had been abducted, taken by the little girl's father. She shouted Jordan's name in panic, but it was too late. With no sign of Jordan, Cynthia rushed to call the police. Only then did the officers in the patrol car seem to remember their duty. Half an hour later, Cynthia was back at the police station, one of the few safe places left. The captain assured her that they had dispatched all units and believed they would apprehend the suspect soon. Meanwhile, the man had taken Jordan deep into the woods. His plan was to bury Jordan alive, not out of revenge, but to destroy the demon once and for all. The rattling of the wooden box woke Jordan. He screamed and banged for help, but the man was resolute. Ignoring his pleas, he dumped Jordan into a freshly dug pit and walked away, satisfied with his work. But could a demon really be defeated so easily? Soon after, while Cynthia was discussing the progress of the case, she was informed that the suspect had turned himself in. She rushed over, shouting in anger, demanding to know where he had taken her daughter. Calming herself, Cynthia pleaded with the captain to let her speak to the suspect privately. Though against protocol, Her status as a psychologist allowed it. Inside the interrogation room, Cynthia wasted no time. She began chanting, a spiritual incantation that instantly transported her into the suspect's mind. There, she saw the man grieving at his wife's deathbed, the exact moment the demon had latched on. While painful, this wasn't the scene Cynthia needed. She dug deeper, accessing more memories. How Jordan had been captured, and the journey to the burial site. No, you have to leave her. Get out of my head. Back in reality, Cynthia now knew the exact location. The man, sensing her power, shouted that Jordan must die, or else the demon would continue to harm others. The captain didn't fully understand, but he now suspected Cynthia's powers were real. Wasting no time, Cynthia and Agatha jumped into the car and sped off into the woods. Meanwhile, as Jordan's fear grew stronger, the demon began to separate from his body. It needed to consume its host before Jordan died. Guided by her visions, Cynthia and Agatha reached the burial site. Soon, they identified the exact spot where Jordan had been buried. As police followed their trail into the forest, Cynthia dug until she uncovered the wooden box. Jordan, she's alive. Jordan was barely holding on, but still breathing. Cynthia told Agatha time was running out. She had to re-enter Jordan's mind and confront the demon before it was too late. To avoid interference, Agatha had to distract the police. She climbed out of the pit and diverted their attention. Meanwhile, Cynthia began chanting again and re-entered the spiritual world. There, she saw her adult daughter, frail and weak. Jordan wanted to accompany her, but Cynthia refused. She had to do this alone. Carrying only an oil lamp, she stepped into the haunted house. It was more terrifying than before. Cynthia had decided, if she couldn't destroy the demon, she would sacrifice herself. As she entered the hallway, she saw the ladder leading up to the attic that housed her deepest trauma. Cynthia hesitated, her heart heavy with memories of her husband's suicide. The attic had always been a barrier between her and her daughter. Summoning courage, she climbed up. There, she found her husband's hanging body, a symbol of the pain she had never faced. Pushing past it, she found the demon waiting. It approached slowly, whispering in her ear. At the last moment, Cynthia raised her hand and pressed her fingers to the demon's forehead. With a chant, she was transported into the demon's world, a cave filled with sticky vines and writhing horrors. She pressed forward until she reached its lair. Meanwhile, Jordan had followed her upstairs, choosing her mother over her childhood fears. She saw her father's body, but focused on helping her mother. Back in the physical world, the police found Cynthia's unconscious body. Cynthia, wake up! The captain's shouting distracted Cynthia in the spirit realm. Suddenly, the demon's tentacles bound her tightly. Just keep looking. Whatever you're doing, do it. Jordan arrived in time to pull her mother's arm down, but the ritual was still active. The demon loomed closer, opening its maw. Then, another figure appeared. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jordan cut the bindings and helped her mother rise. Together, they lifted their weapons and struck. Blow after blow, they tore the demon into pieces. Its core finally destroyed. Cynthia snapped back to reality. The nightmare was over. The captain immediately understood what had happened and called his team for medical help. We found her. Get the medics here now? Hold on. 6 months later, Cynthia once again visited her daughter's spiritual world. But this time, everything had changed. She told Jordan it was time to visit her father. Together, they walked into the attic. Encouraged by her mother, Jordan climbed the stairs she had long feared and untied the rope holding her father's body. As the corpse was lowered, the pain and trauma finally began to heal. In the end, the mother and daughter didn't just defeat a demon. They conquered the shadows in their hearts. To be honest, this film was a refreshing surprise.